So, welcome to tonight's episode of the Whispering Room, and we're going to be discussing aspects of the paranormal, ghost spirits, and everything that goes bump in the night. And I had to dress appropriately and wear my my t-shirt. And of course, as you know, the back.
That's great.
So. I was going to wear my hat and my cape, but I thought that would be a bit over the top. So there we go. So what do we understand about the paranormal? As some of you know, I've had many years' experience in working with the paranormal world, and just to be really clear, this is not about sensational ghost busting, let's get rid of bad energies. Within the context of the house whispering, what is really important, I find, is the understanding of why an energy, why a person who's passed over gets stuck in the in-between world, and how we can actually tune into them, listen to them, and ultimately help them to release. And what I find in most cases is that there's no coincidence as to why a person has been attracted to live somewhere. It's as if in many situations, the spirit that is stuck in a particular property has actually called the owner to come and buy it, because there's a matching story, the law of attraction. And so the two come together, one in physical world, one in spirit, and a relationship ensues. And it's that unfolding that becomes really interesting. And in understanding that allows us to deal with the reason somebody got locked in at the time of passing, which is usually some kind of trauma to the heart, and the clean movement isn't able to happen, and so you get this lock-in in the spirit world. So that's kind of a bit of an intro. So who'd like to kind of open with anything, or share any experiences, or ask any questions? We've had somebody else join Nefa's iPhone, although we can't see whoever Nefa is. Can you hear me, Nefa, whoever you are?
Yes, I can. I can hear you. I'm in England.
Oh, who are you?
Jennifer, Nefer.
Oh, Jennifer. Hi.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes,
Hi.
it's only coming in as Nefa. Have you got a camera so we can see you?
Well, I don't know how to make this work. I didn't realize there's a whole new app and everything.
Sorry. Okay. All right.
I can try.
Give it a try. It's nice to be able to see everyone.
Here I am.
You are. Wonderful. Good to see
Hi.
you. Excellent. Welcome. We've just had a bit of an intro about the spirit world and the relationship between why people are drawn to a particular house, and the relationship between and whatever spirit is in. So yeah, so fire away. What would we like to discuss, look at, share?
I have a good question.
Yeah.
My daughter has just looked at a house in Glastonbury. They've put an offer on it. I went there with them. Beautiful, beautiful house, and it's very definitely alive. They had candles going in all the rooms, and in this one room, which I took a fancy to, I went in, I looked around, I took a couple of pictures as a house looker at her. I went out, I closed the door, it clicked shut, turned to the left to go through the next door to go upstairs to follow the kids, and the door in front of me shut, the one behind me clicked open. Of course, I went back in, didn't I? Yeah. I said, hello. I'm glad you wanted me to come back in. I actually really enjoy your company. I think you have a beautiful house. I'd love to spend more time here, but I'm actually kind of slow and kind of late. If I don't hurry up, they're going to leave me behind. I hope I get to spend more time with you. And then I left, and it didn't open again. And it was an honor, sort of, and I kind of like houses with big bookcases, which it had. But I am a little concerned if my and they have, they accepted the offer and everything, but very clearly it's a very powerful place, and obviously, and it is on the tour. It has its own gate to the tour and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
So what's the concern? What's the question?
Well, the concern is if nothing happens to my little girl health-wise going through for it. I suppose, and if they finally do get it, how best to work with what's there, because obviously at that place there is a lot of energy, be for good, be for whatever. It's all energy at the end of the day.
Sure.
My daughter is very much what I taught her, not what I not fall down with every day.
Yeah.
She's still got all that positivity about her. And I want this to work for her, because I gave her dreams, and I'd like to see them, whatever they are for her, work.
Okay.
And not have her drained in the
yeah, absolutely,
as I have been.
So several points there.
I'm a healer gone burned out, so yeah.
Sure. Just welcome, Bryn. We see you've just come online. Can you hear?
That's my friend.
Oh, is
he
it?
told me about you. Yes.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, David.
Excellent.
I can't see you, but yay.
Okay, a few things on that, Jennifer, because who was attracted to the house? Was it you or your daughter?
My daughter. But about 2 months before, I'd put out a thing into the ether of wanting a house with big bookshelves, and that house actually had them.
So this was your intention, not hers, that found it?
No, it was her intention.
Okay.
No, we were friends with a lady who had a property very next door. I'd taken them down there since '92, and found her property, put a thing on, but it didn't work out, and this is next door.
Okay. What happens is that there is never a mistake as to where we end up. There is no such thing as a wrong or a bad house or a negative house. We've been attracted to it through the law of attraction.
Okay.
And it has something to show us on our soul journey through this lifetime. So nothing is a mistake. We're not victims of circumstance or of the house or the land. So whatever she finds there, and she's obviously been attracted by whatever spirits are there, and it will relate to a story in her life, maybe in her youth.
There's a tour. The tour thing is something that she's been inundated with since her mother took her there in 1990 when she was 18 months old.
Sure.
So it's become something that we all love together.
Absolutely. But whatever unfolds there will be part of her learning. It always is. She may have taken on more than she might realize, but she won't know that until she signed the exchange contract.
Mm-hmm.
And for those watching in countries other than England, our first stage of buying a house in England, in the UK, is exchange of contracts. And then after a few weeks, you have completion when it's totally paid for. So that initial signing, the exchange of contract, is when you get the full whammy, the full karmic package of that house and that land and everything that's related to it. And often this is the point where people will call me for help, because it's like, it's not what they bargained for. It's not what they thought they were buying. And just to give you one example, which is one of the stories in the book, there was a couple in the Cotswolds, beautiful property. And when they saw it, they loved it, they bought it. But on the day they went to move in, the man put the key in the lock, but he literally could not turn it. His hand could just not turn the key. And he was so frightened, they went and spent 3 nights in a hotel until they could get back in, just get the energy to get back in. 12 years later, get there for the consultation, and it was pretty clear the energies there were pretty horrendous. There was the spirit of a murdered girl. There were other energies feeding off that, and so on. But that they did not see that when they first bought it. I'm probably giving you the worst scenario that your daughter might encounter, but it's best to be aware of this, because what you've already described with doors shutting and closing, the activity is kind of pretty manifest. So it can only get more interesting. So,
well, it was described to her as an Agatha Christie house. I really don't know why.
Lovely. Yeah. That kind of brings me on to my next book, and in fact, I'm just showing you the cover of it, which is very much that, the ghost stories, the sleuth. But you see, it's all part of her journey, and yours, of course. So whatever unfolds, let's see, and we can always be in touch about it if there's any great concerns. So good.
I think the house wouldn't have let. The house wouldn't have let. Yeah, the survey go forward, or whatever go forward if it didn't really want us.
Absolutely.
I was feeling sort of guilty that maybe I liked the house so much and the house liked me back, and
well, that could be part of it, but then you're not disconnected from your daughter, obviously.
No, we're not. And the previous house, it didn't quite go through. The lady wanted her to have it. The lady rang her up and told her about their karmic connections.
Yeah.
They went to see it the next day. The day after that, the lady had died, and it didn't work through. But there is a strong, almost.
But you're absolutely right with the point you made, that if the house wants you to have it, it'll work it out, and also the opposite. If a house doesn't want you, or you're not the right alignment to continue the story, because remember, it's a relationship. We have a relationship with our inner house and our outer house where we live. The outer house, the actual physical house, if it has spirit activity in it, there is already a relationship intrinsic in the house itself. So what you're buying and coming into is a relationship not just with the soul of the house, the pure original soul, but all the overlays over however many years or centuries, and you're being attracted to that package, but they are also allowing you or facilitating you getting it, because they want you, they see you as the best candidate to play out their karmic role.
I think the tour, always it's nice for the tour to have people there who will support that tour energy, and that's one of the things I've almost raised my daughter to be able to do.
Sure.
It seems that she's done it aside, because always moving away, mommy, moving away, not spending time with you. But she's doing the one thing, and now she's asked me to go down there as well if they get it. So
okay, I think that's kind of that's a really good start. Thank you, and I'm sure you can come back with more later. But welcome, Jane. Just see you've come on. Can you hear each other? Excellent. So what more? Either anything on what's just been spoken about by Jennifer, or any other questions, queries, observations?
Where does the house which has lots of ghosts, do you think they interact if they're...
Can you put your volume up a bit, or speak up a bit?
Sorry.
Or just speak louder.
Sorry, just talking really loudly.
Yeah.
So where there are lots of ghosts in a house, do you think they interact if they're from different times?
That's a really interesting one. In my experience, they can. It's like do we see them? And do we see, I know when I'm working in a house, I can see spirits in different dimensions, in different time zones. And so the question is, can they see each other? I think it probably depends on their own personal development, their own psychic ability. Just because they passed over, it doesn't mean they either become really super intelligent or super sensitive. As you are as a living being, if you can perceive spirit now, you're likely to perceive, when you're in the spirit world. That's my understanding. but it's something I might ask next time I come across multiple occupied houses and many spirits, and actually see if they can connect with each other, and I'll let you know. But yeah, but what is really important out of that question, Charlotte, is the dimensions and the airwaves and the channels, because it is all channels. It's like a you know, can we see spirit in the room that you're in now? It just depends on the you know, the TV or radio channel that you're tuned into and your instrument is tuned into. Every channel, you know, hundreds of thousands of TV and radio programs are actually passing through all of us right this minute. But can we see them? You know, can we watch the movie? Can we listen to the radio show? Only if you can tune into that particular frequency. So it's a little bit like that. Good. Okay. Okay. Thanks. What more?
My experience with ghosts has always been neutral, really. Do you think that's partly my perception? Because I know
I can't actually see who's speaking. Who's speaking? Can you put your hand up? Oh, Charlotte, sorry, I think there's a delay, so I can't actually see your... Say again.
Sorry. So my experiences with ghosts have been neutral. But I know other people who have very negative experiences with ghosts. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. And is that because of my perception of ghosts in the first place, and theirs seeing sort of them as evil?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, so many people have great fear of the spirit world, and, you know, the sensational stuff we see on TV, and, you know, the Ghostbusters and all the scary movies, and all the TV stuff where they're chasing ghosts and they're screaming, and, you know, that is so what it's not about. But for many people, it's that unknown. It's a scary world, and many countries that I teach in, it's so imbued in people, the fear, they don't even want to talk about it. So imagine trying to do a space clearing class with people who are petrified of spirit. And I'm often told, just don't talk about ghosts. And yet, when I kind of circumnavigate and start to share where there are other energies, everyone has a ghost story. It's extraordinary, but they don't want to kind of talk about it. But everyone has that sensitivity and is likely to have had some experience, you know, either bad or nice, or you're talking to, you know, your mother, your father, or an auntie, or someone who's lived there before, who's a gentle soul. You know, everyone has some kind of story around that. But yeah, there are lots of different levels of acceptance and fear. But really, there isn't anything to fear, because it's just another person like us, but they passed over to the other side. But on the way over, they've just got stuck in that in-between world, and they're asking for help. And it's about hearing them, understanding this story, and in really connecting and understanding them, they're being heard and honored. And that's what allows the release. Only when someone's story is heard. And it's a beautiful process when that happens and that spirit release, you know, occurs. There is the other side, of course, which is a little bit scary, which is the entity energy and the demonic stuff, and even worse. So, and, you know, sometimes I have to work with some pretty heavy, dark material. And you deal with it in a completely different way to the ghost world, to the spirit world that needs gentle understanding and release. So, yeah, so two very different approaches. And so if you go in being aware that there is a ghost stuck, and you attack it and scream, shout and blast it out, as I said in my written material, you're actually probably scaring that person in spirit, but also shattering, fragmenting their soul. And so you then come along afterwards with your shamanic hat and have to do soul retrieval to help that person who's just been shattered. So not very sensible. So you've got to know what it is you're dealing with before you know what process you're going to use. But usually for spirit, the ghost world, it's love, understanding, compassion, hearing the story, and the release is then actually quite simple, very fast and very beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, what more? Paula, hi.
Hi. I don't live in a haunted house, right? I think I don't.
Okay.
But I feel sometimes to times I'm visited by someone else. Could it be possible? Should I become afraid about that? Or what must I do?
When you say visited by someone else, what do you mean?
I feel other energy, and I can see shadows moving.
Yeah.
And they ask for my attention.
Yes.
Take something on the floor, something like that.
Yeah.
And
Well, what you're describing, I think we can pretty much say that you have spirit activity for sure. But you see, there's a difference between a ghost that is stuck or someone that is passing through, or a guide. You know, it could be parents, could be family, could be teachers who are coming to actually help and guide you. So it's about asking, who are you? What do you want? Just like we're talking to each other, just speak with them in your mind or out loud. But whatever you do, and so many people do this, they scream and shout and swear every language they can to get them out of the room. You know, that's not sensible, because you could scare them away, but you know what? They're going to come back in a different way. And if you start upsetting energies, particularly if they are more the entity energy, hey, you're setting up a battle. Yeah. So, yeah, but the whole thing with shadows, and it's in the corner of your eye sort of thing, that is the more psychic part of us when we see to the side, not straight ahead. And then we kind of turn around to look at the shadow, but because we're looking with the center of our eye, we don't see it, it disappears. It's not that it's disappeared, but the sensitive part is out the side. So yeah, and that was one of my early kind of awarenesses, you know, seeing shadows walking around and upstairs, and you kind of look round and there isn't anyone in the house, you know, and
they make things falling on the ground and something.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes.
And
perfect.
sometimes, is it possible to make some difference here when you feel not very well? You're feeling, how do you say? Sorry about my English. You feel kind of dizzy.
Oh, yeah. But
that's a different energy, right?
because that energy is going through you and round your energy field, so it can throw you off center. Yeah, for sure. But you know, they're just wanting attention. That's why they're making a noise and pushing things over and, you know, knocking. And if you don't listen to them, the knocks will get louder. The doors will start banging louder. More things fall off the shelves. They're just trying to get attention. Yeah. But remember, they're also part of the whole creation and your soul journey, and they're being guided by their guides. So it's not something that's happening to me, to you, and it's something that's bad or wrong. You know, they are part of the whole story. So the message is, listen to them, ask them, who are you, what do you want, and have a conversation. So you can try that, and then let me know.
I do that in my way, of course, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you done that with them? Have you asked them who they are?
Yes, I don't hear properly, right? But I can feel something.
Yeah.
If I know them, I have a different sensation in my body, you know, if you know what I mean. But if I don't know them, I feel kind of strange.
Well, but they could be likely that they are strangers. So so that's why it's about getting to know who they are.
And at night, when I'm sleeping, sometimes I see the pictures
Moving.
Yes, moving, and I hear it was she was talking to you before.
Yes.
Okay, I see pictures coming up very, very. Oh, so many people! My God.
You mean pictures in your mind?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Old pictures.
Yeah. Well, yes, but what you're doing is you're tuning in to the Akashic field, which is holding all the knowledge of everything that's ever happened in that space. And what you're doing is getting a replay, like a video replay, because you've activated something and they want to show you something. But there is a reason why they're showing you the movie. You know, it could be the ancestors, people who are stuck. And it's like, watch the movie, but step back a bit so that you can watch it rather than getting really involved with it and maybe getting a little bit scared and putting away or shutting down. So it's like going to the cinema, you know, just sitting back, you know, get your popcorn out and your drink and sit back and
answers. And wait for the answers.
Well, ask the question. You won't get an answer. Like when we're talking about dowsing, you've got to ask a question to get an answer. So it's the same with spirit. You know, you can get spirits that want to just play around. So you need to be aware of, you know, if there's any games going on. But at least start by having a conversation, asking them who they are. And if you sense there's any kind of aggravation or rudeness, then you might have to step up and deal with it as you would anyone else, you know, real person, and say, hey, hang on, you know, this is not on, you know, and yeah, have the conversation. So, but you're certainly very sensitive, and I know we've worked together in Lisbon in the workshops, and so yeah, I'm not surprised that they're hanging around you. So yeah, listen to them, see what they need, and then serve that need, because that's what we're all here for, in some way, to serve a need, either in the physical world or the spirit world. So see what it is they're wanting or needing. Okay, thank you. That's good. Well done. Good. Wow, this is getting interesting. What more? Any?
I have a question.
Yeah, Susanna.
Why do you think they get stuck in the first place?
In my experience, is because people haven't resolved something in their life at the moment they pass over. They don't want to let go of life. They haven't resolved maybe something major, or they don't want to leave a loved one. So many reasons, but essentially it's a trauma in the heart. And if we look at sacred geometry and the golden mean spiral that, you know, I talk about quite a lot, that's the natural harmonic of the heart. And at the moment of death, the idea is that that is spinning freely. But if it's not, and you're hanging on, you know, that gets crunched up, and you're kind of like hanging on to this world whilst trying to move on to the next world. but it's usually through some kind of trauma or an accident or an illness. And certainly with an accident or a trauma, you don't kind of really have time to consider life and release. You know, it's quite a sudden thing. So lots of reasons, but essentially it's something unresolved and not let go. That's my experience. And, you know, when I connect with people and talk to them, they tell me why. You know, there's one case out in the Cotswolds somewhere where I could see the man who used to live in a house up in the top floor window, just looking out, waiting. And when I spoke to him, he said, well, I'm waiting for my wife to come back. But that was like 100 years ago. He was dressed in that he was living 100 years ago. And in spirit time, there is no real time. And so he was still waiting. And I had to tell him that, you know, he's passed away, his wife has passed away, and she's not going to come back because you're both in different time zones. You've both passed away. And there's a better chance, maybe, of you meeting if you just let go and stop waiting for her and just move on to the other side. And you may meet her, you may not, but there's no point you staying there waiting. So it's that kind of situation. But again, it's what I was saying to Paula, you've got to have a conversation with them. But the more you can see, and I see visually as well as hear them and feel their energy, that it's about understanding, you know, what their story is. It all comes down to the story. And if you can hear and understand the story and help them with it, then, you know, they're more readily able to let go. And often, many people won't let go because of fear of being judged. And society and religion has a lot to answer for that, because a lot of people tell me at that moment when we're having the discussion that they don't want to go to hell. They don't want to be judged because they've done something wrong in this lifetime. And it's about letting them know that there isn't anyone to judge them other than themselves. But because we're so programmed with society and religion, you know, what's going to happen to us if we've been bad and sinned, and that creates a fear. And that fear is enough to keep people from not releasing up to the light. But if you can tell them there is not a problem, and, you know, then help them up, and you can create funnels of light and whatever. There's various ways of spirit release. And they do release really quite easily, and you can really feel it. It's tangible. And it's a beautiful process. Yeah, so we can do an enormous amount in helping people move on like that. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. Good. What more? Paula.
I might have a stupid question, but can we talk about reincarnation? And sometimes what we suppose it's a different entity, it's our own reincarnation from the past, and we must deal something, and we are visited sometimes by our reincarnation.
Well, my understanding is that we are the soul we are, and we just continue through this lifetime, the next, and many, maybe hundreds before. So we're just on a continuous journey, and we just switch bodies every now and then. So we die, we're reborn, have to go through the whole growing up process, you know, the dying process, the in-between stage. But we're the same person, essentially. And when often when I work with people, the issue that they've called me there for to the house is not something that has happened in this lifetime that has caused the problem, or the fear, or I'm not worth it, or, you know, which is a lot that women carry, that, you know, you're of no value. And you may get born to parents who say, yeah, you really are, you know, useless, you have no value. I didn't want you to be born in the first place. And by the way, woman, I actually wanted a son, not a girl. You know, and all this gets locked, not even at birth, but in the womb, because that attitude, the child is picking it up in the womb. And I've seen this, and that's come out in working with people. And that's where the trauma gets locked in. And guess what? It affects them for the rest of their life until they wake up to that. But even going further back than that, something that's happened in a previous lifetime will have made you choose who you're born to, which parents, and the time and place, which gives you your astrological makeup as well, that gives you the characteristics of what you might be seeking in this lifetime's journey. And so you'll choose parents who are going to treat you or abuse you. So again, nothing is an accident. Like I say, the house, you know, you're not a victim of the house. It's part of the law of attraction. So you've chosen parents who are going to give you the experience to deal with something from a previous lifetime. And so it goes on. Yeah. But the more that we can resolve an issue now, for resolution for ourselves, it will help our children, but also it can help our parents. And in fact, it's said that it can help 7 generations each side. So this whole thing of quantum time, you know, you can see it when you're doing this work. It's the knock-on effect is huge. So the responsibility that we have and the effect that we have is pretty potent. It's very powerful. So that's my sense of when we talk about reincarnation. It's just a continuous journey of the soul with lots of stories and lots of learning. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Gosh, so what?
I have something.
Uh-huh.
Where I'm living now, in this sort of area of England,
Yeah.
my ancestors lived here, and my dad died when I was really young. My mom always told about his side of the family, always. And then, you know, we grew up with these stories about Archbishop Layton and Dr. Layton, but they were always mishmashed together.
Mm.
And went to Spiritualist Church about 5 years ago, and one of them came through. And we'd had all the books as kids, but they had disappeared. But the one that stood out was, because I'm Dr. Layton, and this guy was Dr. Layton, and he was naughty, and he wrote pamphlets, and he got tortured in the Star Chamber and all this stuff.
Mm.
And I feel a great connection to this man. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my ancestor, so I suppose it's in the genes. And his son who was like this archbishop, but was so shy that he only became archbishop. He left it after 4 months and went back to reading and teaching because he just was too shy.
Mm.
And donated a library and stuff. But I'd like to heal some of that.
Yes. Because
I think my own karma is sort of plagued with, you know, this sort of cleric downtroddenness. And I know I wanted more than that for myself in life, but I always seem to be blocked. And I really have a lot of time for these ancestors of mine. I think they were pretty wonderful people. But I also would like to help them be more released. I'm sure they helped me, but I'd like to help them back.
So have you had dialogue with them?
More than, not so much dialogue as just recognition.
Well, it may be as simple as just saying to whoever you're aware of in the atmosphere, in the air, who are you and how can I help you? It's as simple as that sometimes.
But I mean, I have their stuff all around me. You know, I have family stuff and things.
So that's kind of like the link, the doorway into their energy fields anyway.
Yeah.
But whereabouts are you, by the way? Are you in Glastonbury?
Not yet. I'm in Northamptonshire.
Okay.
I'm in a big old house. It's like was built in the 1800s, and there's like 16. They made it into 16 flats.
Wow.
And it has its whole own story, which is overlaid as well.
Yeah. Yeah, a house that's cut up is like a soul being chopped up. So it's another aspect of this work.
Yes.
And that can create a lot of problems.
I think the oversoul of the guy that had this place is quite generous and likes to help people. It's attracted a lot of really weird, including me, to the building. Yeah,
but your ancestors owned the whole house originally as one house, did they?
Not this one. No. It's just that Leighton was taken to Bedford somewhere, and so I know that he was around here and he escaped somewhere. I mean, they were from Scotland. I don't know the exact everything because I've never really researched it to the nth degree.
Sure. Okay. I think that's the thing really is, as I say, just to connect with them and just see how. That's your question to me, so put that question to them. How can I help you in the ancestry? And you can help backward because there's no time in truth. Everything exists now, so whatever we do now can ricochet in resonance to other time zones and time dimensions.
Yeah, I think because this is Dr. Leighton, he was such a kind guy. He got himself all the horrible things that they could do in the Star Chamber. And when his son eventually bought him out, he wound up going back to some other prison and being the doctor for all the people that he'd known.
Yeah.
Just because he could, and I guess maybe he was a bit deformed at that point or something.
Sure.
So they're essentially really quite honorable people.
Yeah. Okay. But they're all stories, and the idea is to connect with them, because your question is, how can you help your ancestors?
Yeah. And I'd like to free the family karma, because it does seem to be a bit sticky.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you are a product of that family karma. And so, as always with this work, it always begins with us and dealing and clearing up our own inner stuff. So it's always the first place to start. You know, what can I clear in myself? What beliefs, attitudes, what can I change to make my life better at a deepest possible level? And that is a good beginning to helping others. Because, you know, there's this whole thing of let's go and fix someone else and be, you know, really good as, you know. And the last person we think of actually looking at sorting out is ourselves, because that's actually the hardest. It's hard work. So if that's touched on what you need to.
Yeah, well, I'm guilty of all of that. So fair enough.
Yeah, well, so we all. I mean, you know, been there, done it. Got the T-shirt.
Yeah. Excellent.
So great. Okay, so you've got a bit of work to do there, Jennifer. So let's know how you get on. But sounds fascinating as another whole. There's another whole story there which we'll have to hear about sometime. But,
okay.
So how are we doing? We've got we're 45 minutes in. We've got no time limit. So one more question, one more observation.
Christian?
Yeah, Brian. Hi.
I've had a problem quite a few times where in my sleep, I'm not having my dreams. So I'm completely controlled whenever I go to sleep. And I wake up and I feel fine, whatever. And as soon as I go back to sleep, there's something in my head. And someone, at one point, this feng shui guy said, "Oh, there's this is the time when I was sleeping in a school. And he said, there's 52 ghosts in this room, and they're attracted to schools because they can feed off the minds of children. And when he said that, I backtracked and realized every time this has happened to me had been when I was sleeping in a school. You know, I've noticed it several times since, is that and as often I'm the only person that seems to suffer from it, and if there's other people in the room, then it's easier for me than if I'm on my own. I just fail to be able to keep these things out of my head.
Can you slow down a little bit, because your words are a bit mumbled? So are you sleeping in a school?
No, it's just something that has happened on occasion.
Yeah.
And someone pointed out to me that these things are ghosts that come to schools, and at that point it really correlated, because I looked back in my life and realized the times when it had happened seriously was all those times when I'd been sleeping in a school, you know, for some time.
Whichever building you sleep in, and I talk about this a lot, if you're sleeping in a hotel, a B&B, or at some friend's place, you know, your dreams are not your own. You will be dreaming the dreams of that house. Yeah. And everything that's ever happened in a house, you will be processing it. Because like we said to the previous lady, you know, the stories are in the air. They're in the atmosphere. They're in, you know, you've gone there and you've activated the play button. And then the show starts. And so all these images, emotions will come up. But the interesting thing is what triggers the play button. And I'll tell you what it is, in my experience, is it's our relationship to something that is in our emotional body that matches the emotion of that building or that room. And so if there's a particular thing that's happened there, or a trauma or an abuse, it's likely that it will have happened in your life at some stage, whether you're aware of it or not, or in your past or past lives. And you come along and that energy in the room recognizes you. It may have even called you to go and spend time there, or at the bigger picture, to buy the house or to rent it. And so you know, you come along and suddenly you've got this dynamic kind of electric recognition, and that is as good as saying press play and then the whole show unfolds. But it's happening because they want you to experience something again in order to see them, recognize them, and help them. Yeah, there is one very major retreat center in the south of England. I won't mention names because they get very upset when I do. And it was used as a boys' school for quite a while, a boarding school. And if anyone knows which building it is, don't mention it, please. And people say now when they sleep in certain dormitories and certain rooms, they can feel the children still in the beds wetting themselves because of the abuse. So that's the kind of degree that the replay can actually manifest. And it's very real. It kind of becomes physical. But there's something in the person who will go to stay in that room that will have a recognition of that emotion, that pain. It may have happened to them, and so it will trigger it off. But it's not just so that you can experience it and say, oh, we've had a ghost experience. It's in order so that you can, you know, wake up and become aware of, you know, the spirits that need help.
Yeah, I think sometimes also though it's so strong it feels like they're just trying to generate very aggressive or very sexual or very fear-based in me to feed off those. You know, it feels like it's something quite dark in that way. Quite. Yeah,
but you, what you've touched on is what I mentioned before, the entity energy, where you have spirit that is stuck. You often find that there can be darker energy, entity energy, that's not a person that's died. It's just a thought form. It's a blob of dark matter that can actually take over and control a whole group of spirits.
Oh, okay.
and they will hold them prisoners, and they just play around with them. And the sexual thing, yeah, is a big one. And so if you have dreams of really nasty dreams, scary dreams, sexual dreams, limbs being chopped about, you can guarantee you've got entity energy, and that has to be dealt with in a very different way. So none of this is clean cut. You know, there's lots of elements and layers of reality that kick in, sometimes galactic stuff or deep earth stuff. And so you need to be able to read you know, what is going on before you even try and attempt to deal with it. And as some of you know, I'm running a whole training program on workshops, and one of them is exactly about this, you know, spirit release and so on. So if you really want to take it further and deeper. So it is a vast subject, and really the key to it is our sensitivity. And all of you have spoken, you know, of your perception of it. And so, you know, you're aware of these energies, and it's just about having, you know, enough tools in your tool bag to say, okay, well, I recognize it. I'm not sure what to do about it, but at least I'm recognizing what is going on, and kind of just understanding the bigger framework of it, rather than kind of either running scared or trying to shut it down or shoo it out, you know, which doesn't help anyone. And remember, the key thing is that if you can help spirit release in whatever way you're able to, in their release and their healing, guess what? There is a mirror image healing in yourself, because you've been attracted there, they've attracted you perhaps, and so it's like a kind of win-win. You've helped them, but in that process you've actually helped yourself, because, you know, whose ghost is it in the house? Is it a reflection of your inner ghost? So perhaps that's a really good place to leave it for tonight. So wonderful. That's been fascinating conversations, and I thank you all very much. And a replay of the recording will be up online this evening or tomorrow. So do enjoy it and share it. And let's stay in touch with any stories that we've discussed tonight, and yeah, your onward journeys. So thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian.
Okay, bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.